Welcome to Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. Today's the 10th of November and the rain just quit here about 15 minutes ago. So we're going to head up on the ridge right behind us. It's about 250 yards, maybe a little bit more from that spot that we've been sitting. But it's still in the area where I think that, if we are going to see that Jordan buck, this would be one of the areas where he was pretty regular last year. And we don't really know that much about him this year. We just know that he's around. And I've said that a bunch of times, but that's enough. It's enough to know that he's at least around. So we'll go back to hunting some of the same patterns that he had last year. So at any moment, we could see that deer, which keeps you kind of on pins and needles when you're in the stand. The location is further out on that ridge that we've been hunting, like I mentioned, but now it's closer probably to the very end of the point, where there's a whole bunch of beds there. We looked at it in the spring and there was a ton of beds in that spot. So I'd say, if a buck's out cruising around looking for does, being closer to the doe bedding areas is a good thing. What else can we say about this? Oh, today, mild. Boy, very mild. It's almost feels humid, but it's supposed to cool off and the wind is supposed to go west and then swing northwest. We'll check it one more time just to make sure. We don't want to get up there and then have it going in the wrong direction. But we can hardly trust the forecast lately anyway. So yeah, I think we're good to go. It's just a matter of putting in time now. Putting in time without educating deer, staying as close as we can to where we think that buck is living, and then hoping for luck. Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail App, Whitetail Institute, Research Equals Results, B3 Releases, XO Broadheads, Exact Sights, Muddy Outdoors Tree Stands, Stealth Cam Trail Cameras, and Hoyt. Careful. Come on up here. It's about 1:45, maybe half an hour ago. That 8-pointer came into that pond. That's the same deer that was chasing that doe. I think it was November 6th on the other end of this ridge where we were sitting for those all-day sits. It was pretty funny. I just got done saying, like 5 minutes before that with all this rain that we've had, these ponds wouldn't be worth anything. Here he comes down and gets a drink. So I told Carson, just ignore everything I say from now on. it was encouraging to see him out that early, but I do think that probably right after the rain quit, which was maybe a little over an hour ago, probably that got the deer up and moving. This spot is on the far south end of Thor's Range. That button buck that has become our buddy up on the ridge here. This is where we met him the first time, a couple weeks back. So, with any luck, we'll see Thor. We'll see Thor this afternoon. And maybe with even a little bit more luck, we'll see that Jordan buck, since this is also probably on the fringe of his range. I like this spot. The only problem is, and that buck just proved it, the stand isn't set up very well. We're right out in the wide open. It was fine earlier when there were still leaves on the trees, but now, whew, gosh, if we move at the wrong time, we stand out like a sore thumb up here, so we just have to be really, really careful. It's almost 4. So that means, what is that, an hour and 15 minutes, roughly. Is that right?
Yeah.
The sun looks awfully high for that.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Huh. Yeah, because 5:15 is the end of legal shooting time, right?
Yep.
We haven't seen any deer since that narrow racked 8-pointer came down to that pond. Boy, we had that rain squall blow through. That was a bit miserable. It was probably a 15-mile-an-hour wind, spitting rain. We had to cover the camera. Would have liked to cover myself with that plastic bag. we were kind of miserable. Temperature's been falling all afternoon. So I want to take a quick minute here and get you caught up on what our friend Amos has been up to. If you remember right, Amos was hunting the Marsh monster, and he's closing in on him. He had another encounter, long distance encounter. He figured he was probably 250, 300 yards away. And I think that kind of ruined him, because once he saw that buck again, it made him very hesitant to shoot anything else. And he had a really nice 10-pointer come in shortly after that. I think it was the next morning. He saw the big one a few evenings back, and then the next morning this really nice 10 came in, and he passed him up. And I don't blame him, but that is a really nice buck for public land. I don't care what state you're hunting in. That's a good buck. But I think he's having a lot of fun. You know, it's quite an adventure for a young man to be hunting the bottoms, hunting all the marsh country with a canoe and sneaking around and hunting big deer. That's pretty cool. I would have really liked that when I was his age. I grew up duck hunting and not deer hunting, so the prospect of being out on the marsh, I mean, that was in my blood anyway, but to be able to hunt big deer out there would be pretty fun. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on Amos. Hopefully sometime here in the next few days he gets another crack at that one. He calls him the moose, because when he first saw him, he was weaving his rack back and forth coming through the willow thicket. He said it was like a big old moose. So that's how he got his name. And hopefully we'll get a chance to see that deer again soon. We're going to go back to keeping an eye out. We've got about 20 minutes left. It's so funny now. Every time I say, deer never do this or deer do that, just as soon as it comes out of my mouth, they show me up. That I just got done saying to Carson, it seems like when you get towards the end of legal shooting time, you almost never see anything for whatever reason. And it had no more than come out of my mouth than this buck showed up and walked across right in front of us. So once again, don't listen to anything that I say. We're about wrapped up here, so I'm going to close it out. And I think we're going back to the other end of this ridge tomorrow. I still say if we're going to kill that buck we're after, it's going to be down there. That spot just sets up so well for more or less where I think he's living. So I appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow for the next episode of Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. Remember to always dream big.
I can see him. It's a little green, but
Yeah, we'll let him go.
I'm not 100% sure it's him. I